Good evening, friends, and welcome to a late night edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are going to go over UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, the murder, day 5 of the Manhunt. The NYPD, along with the U.S. Marshals and the FBI, continue day 5 of the Manhunt for the vicious murderer of Brian Thompson. First, we want to just say thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and the moderators. You guys are what makes this a great place. And I thank you all for the positive comments as it pertains to all of these cases that we cover. So tonight, Ed and I are going to go over some new information, which, you know, some people are saying it's really not a lot, but there's so much going on behind the scenes. They are working hard in multiple different jurisdictions, multiple states. They are working in states that we don't even know about to cover all tracks when it comes to this case. Ed, how you doing tonight? How was your weekend?
Busy weekend. I'm tired.
Okay, we're all tired. We're going to get right into it. As you can see, I have a scrolling tip line down below. I promised that on the first video, but I was behind the game. So I just want to say the tip line is down, scrolling below. Is up to a $60,000 reward. $50,000 offered by the FBI and $10,000 by NYPD Crime Stoppers. And NYPD Crime Stoppers, Ed, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that relies on donations from the public. And they put out these $10,000 rewards on every shooting case in New York City. They put it out there, and it's a blanket reward for information and tips leading to the arrest and conviction of these vicious murderers that are running out there on the various cases that New York City covers. But let's get into it right away. This is what the latest is, and we'll play this. We'll be right back.
Tonight, 2 new photos of a man police are calling a person of interest in the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson on a Midtown Manhattan street. They're from a taxi cab, the same cab police say he took to a bus terminal after the murder, before the trail went cold. Police saying they think he's left New York City. Those photos, the latest images of the man police have been tracking since last Wednesday, including at the Manhattan hostel where he stayed, a stop at Starbucks, and then near Central Park. That's where this weekend police found new evidence, a backpack they believe belongs to the suspect. The case taking a strange twist when they revealed what was inside, a jacket and Monopoly money. Retired FBI agent Rob D'Amico told me that could be a message to investigators.
You see something that seems to come out of left field, like the Monopoly money. What do you take from that?
You look at it and you're like, was some purpose of that? Or was it literally something so benign that it wasn't even part of it? Like, why Monopoly money? What would bring it to it?
Today, elite NYPD scuba teams back in the park, scouring the ponds for evidence. The weapon still missing. The investigation now expanding nearly 1,000 miles away to Georgia. Our Kathy Park is there.
Authorities say the investigation is widening to places like Atlanta, where officials say they're looking for clues at bus stations. They believe the suspected shooter could have come through here before heading to New York.
Senior law enforcement officials say they still don't know the suspect's ID. One of the tools they're using comes from the NYPD's facial recognition unit.
We have cameras over here.
Darren Porcher is a former NYPD lieutenant who used to work near the bus terminal where the suspect was last seen.
We have cameras across the street. But you have to take in consideration the average citizen in New York doesn't have an expectation of privacy when they're in public, because the average citizen is photographed or videotaped 100 to 200 times a day.
The murder mystery captivating the nation, now deepening.
He hasn't been caught yet. How much harder is this going to get?
It's going to get tough. It's going to get to the point where you can open up the entire East Coast. He may be even traveling further.
Tom is joining us now from outside that Midtown Manhattan hotel where the shooting happened. So, Tom, once police do match a name to the pictures here, how quickly could they move in for an arrest?
Well, police experts say, Hallie, that even if they get a name for that suspect, they'll have to go out and get him, of course, and then they'll have a lot of work to do to match the evidence to the suspect in this case. Hallie, that could take a while.
Ed, I wanted to go to you quickly because we looked and we talked about this facial recognition technology. they also showed some additional photos from that New York City cab. And as our good friend, listen, I went to the NYPD Police Academy with Dr. Darren Porter. He was in my company. We graduated the police academy together. We both went to the New York City Housing Authority Police Department. I worked in PSA 2. He went up to the Bronx. But you heard what he said. Nobody in New York City has any expectation of privacy because of how many cameras and things of that nature that are on there. But wanted to go to you for your thoughts, Ed.
Well, absolutely. Nobody has an expectation of privacy in the public sector when all of these closed circuit security cameras are everywhere. ATM security cameras, 7-Eleven security cameras, anywhere you go on the streets or in these private businesses, you're going to be recorded. And so there's no expectation of privacy in public.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to also go to you quickly on the facial recognition. You know, we know that that's been in existence for a long time, but they showed the Real-Time Crime Center up at 1PP, and they got a team of guys working and girls working on facial recognition. That means looking through hundreds, thousands of video cameras to show his exact footprints of where he traveled.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and then using that software and the algorithm that's associated with the software, it's looking at various nodals, which are points of anthropological measurements on the face that they are taken and math is conducted and compared to, and then they come up with a percentage of, okay, this is like 87%. I'm sure it's this individual, right, or so forth. Even Facebook has facial recognition now on the photos you upload, and they'll put a name to the face, right, by itself.
Yeah,
so absolutely.
And you know what? Look, I have the evidence listed, and this is not a complete list of evidence. They got the video showing him escaping from the actual murder scene and his routes that he took. They have DNA discarded from a water bottle. Look, this makes us think about Rex Heuermann, right? He had the discarded pizza crust over right outside his place of business there in Midtown Manhattan. DNA discarded from the water bottle. Partial fingerprints. That was Ed, again, they didn't specify where they got that partial print, but it could have been from any of the places. The hostel where he was staying, that is going to be a treasure trove of DNA. And we talked about hairs and fibers. You know, you're an expert in this crime scene, retired NYPD crime scene. They also have the burner phone. Okay. People question that burner phone. Like, could that have been just a prop that he threw down there to throw people off? I doubt it, because they have him on video talking, and they also have him on video discarding that phone. Also, the jacket found in the backpack, and unknown DNA from the hostel. So the hostel. So that's just a partial list that they put out there. I just want to play a little piece, and then we got a special guest, Ed. I didn't even tell you about this, but Lieutenant Joe Cardinale, I worked with him in the NYPD and the Housing Bureau, and he's going to join us. But I want to show a little piece that he did today from News Nation before we bring him on.
Okay. Belonged to the gunman, contained only a jacket and Monopoly money. New York City Mayor Eric Adams implying last night police do know who the suspect is. They are not revealing his name. Here with us now is former NYPD Lieutenant Commander Joseph Cardinale. Mr. Cardinale, always great to see you. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's start with Mayor Adams's comment about not releasing the shooter's identity, at least at this time. Do you believe police have pinpointed who the suspect is, and why not put his name out there?
Well, I believe they do have a good idea of who this individual is, and you do not put his name out there. I most certainly would not put his name out there at this time. You know, we have to understand that this is a case that's progressing and it's building a case. This case has to go to trial when they do apprehend the suspect. Once that happens, you have to make sure that everything you did from A to Z is you know, the way you planned it, so it has a good success in court. So they're not rushing this by any means. They're doing it methodically, and they're basing it on everything that this perp has left behind. So, you know, I myself would not let his name out at this time. I mean, it doesn't have to be. His face is out there, which is the most crucial part.
Sure. So what happened?
And, you know, I want to stop it right there because, Ed, I think it's enough. That says a lot. You know, Lieutenant Joe Cardinale, who has been around the block, he's done a lot of these investigations. Not exactly this one, but he's got a lot of time under his belt. So I just want to bring him in real quick because I want to talk to you and him about this monopoly money and all of these props that we're seeing that this perpetrator has left behind at the scene. You know, the spent cartridges with, you know, the defend, depose and deny, and all of that stuff. But without further ado, I want to just welcome my good friend, my brother, Lieutenant Joe Carnally. Thank you for being here, Joe.
Thanks for having me, guys. How you doing, Ed? How's everything?
Good, LT. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
You know, when we all get together like this, it always brings back fond memories of when we worked in the street. And, you know, all of the different trades. Ed's crime scene unit, forensic expert. He worked after he retired at the medical examiner's office in the DNA lab. Joe, I know you worked on a lot of high-profile cases, in your career. The piece that you did with News Nation, I know you're talking head for, you know, a couple of different outlets, but, you know, you mentioned that you wouldn't put the perpetrator's name out there. A lot of our true crime enthusiasts that watch, you know, the true crime sleuths, they have questions. They're like, well, why? Why wouldn't they put the guy's name out there? So I wanted you to expand a little bit on that if you could.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on it, but my main thought was that tip line is still going. When somebody hears that this person's name is out there, they may not call in and say that they already identified them, so it might, stop them from calling in. Whereas you want them to call in because they might have better information than somebody that may have identified this person already. So I think it's crucial, you know, to keep the name out. You have his face, and let those calls keep coming in because there's got to be a lot of people out there. This guy is nationwide right now. It's just amazing, you know, that the facial photos that they have in the cab, you know, him smiling at the hostel, you know, it's all important photos that they have of this guy already, and let everybody keep calling in. We know how these tip lines go. They either get the wackos out there that call in and just want to, you know, their 3 minutes of fame over there, or, you know, you get bona fide calls that you have to sort through, and you know every phone call has to be documented, you know, that they address it, so down the line they can't say, well, somebody did call in, why didn't we do this? They don't want to miss anything, but they do triage it and they see who the bona fide calls are. So that was my main reason for it. I don't think we should put the name out there when his face is still out there and until they make the arrest.
Yeah, good point, LT. I just want, you know, we have a live audience, so this isn't like a pre-tape. This is a live stream. Some of the folks in the chat are, you know, asking your credentials. If you don't mind, I mean, you're a former lieutenant commander, retired, you know, once a cop, always a cop. Could you just give a little bit of background on your investigation skills and what you did in your career, Joe?
Well, 13 of my 21 years I spent as a lieutenant commander. I was with, as you said, with the Housing Authority Police Department. I did vacation relief all over the city. Then I took over areas A and B, and then I took over C after that. And then after the merge, I was in the Brooklyn Robbery Squad as the CO. I went to the 6-9 Squad, and I finished up in Brooklyn South gang investigations before I took my line of duty and got out. And right after 9/11, I was up the landfill for the last 3 or 4 months of my career. And that was it. So since then, I've been doing Fox, doing a bunch of, you know, doing the radio, iHeartRadio, Newsmax, just about every outlet. I enjoy that more than anything, just to keep in the loop.
Absolutely, LT. And, you know, I always say this to our audience, and Ed, you know, Ed was, you know, an 80s guy. He came on in the 80s. In 1991, when I first came out, of course, I'm the rookie here, but when I came out in 1991, we had the 2,200 murders in New York City. So we were dealing with these cases 2, 3, 4 a week out in Brooklyn North. So a case like this, you know, people that are outside of that New York City metro area, they're like, they're never going to find this guy. He's Gandhi. What they don't realize is that many of the cases that we handle as NYPD detectives, the perpetrators take off. They go to, you know, Puerto Rico, they go to, you know, Dominican Republic, they go to different countries. They are outside of the country, and we have partners and we have partnerships with a lot of outside agencies. And when you're working with the U.S. Marshals, I just want you to quickly talk a little bit about the partnerships between the state, the federal, the local agencies, how great of partnerships that we've built with them over the years, Joe.
You know, as you said, it's a great partnership, and it's, you know, people that you've worked with in the past, people that you can count on. the U.S. Marshals are fantastic. I mean, utilize their services. They're out there. They want to help. They've been involved in so many high-profile cases, but they go from 0 to 100 in no time for you, and it's just amazing. And I just wanted to tell Ed, the other night you brought up something, Ed, and it was very, I'm so glad you did, about the way this is being treated in the media, especially with that Taylor individual. I did mention that on a couple of the shows. I'll be doing a few more tomorrow with this, but we see it. And the way you explain it, you and Ron explain it, it's so important for the people that are watching this, because they don't see the human side of cops, and we do not like to downplay anything. We don't like to put anybody down in any of the investigations. And the mere fact that they're trying to say that the NYPD is handling this because it's a high profile case, because it's a rich guy, and that's a bunch of bull. And I let them know that today at the end of the interview. She did not play that part of it, but it was important to me to get that across, because we treat everything as it comes. It wouldn't make a difference if it was somebody off the street, poor person. It doesn't make a difference. We treat these cases as they come in, and we give it the dignity and the respect that each case deserves. So people just assume that because it's a high profile, and what made it high profile is exactly what you and Ron spoke about. And the fact that it's in 6:45 in the morning and it's caught on live camera there, and you see the whole incident. That's what makes it a high profile case.
Yeah, we hear this all the time. And I said, well, are you guys following our local news? Because our local news covers all of these types of homicides that occur in all the various neighborhoods of New York City. And, and let's face it, most of the homicides that the news are talking about are not millionaire, CEOs from insurance companies or bankers or those types of people. They're the average everyday Joes that are getting killed. And they're getting that media profile, and we're treating them the same way that we would treat this man.
Absolutely.
So I don't get it.
It's just frustrating. And I made it a point to say to our live audience is that, we at the NYPD, we go after each case with the same vigor, the same tool set that we have available to us. We use all of our resources. If it's a high profile CEO, yes, the news and the media, they're gonna put that out there. I used to remember coming home when we would spend 48 hours, 24 hours doing straight tours, working these crime scenes and homicides in the projects, and there was no coverage from Fox 5 and all the news media, Channel 7, Channel 2. They wouldn't come out to cover it. But our detectives, the NYPD, the squad commanders like yourself, Joe, weren't going home to see their families for days and tracking these cases. So it's just important that people we're not here just to blow smoke up your butt. We're here to tell you the truth of how it is. And that's why I say in the beginning of the show, it's true crime from a police detective's perspective. And that's what you get here. But I want to give a little bit more because I want to go into the monopoly money. Joe, do you have a couple more minutes to hang out with us? Or?
Oh, absolutely. I'm here with you guys all night if you want. You know that.
Love it. I love it. Thank you, boss. I just want to play that little piece that you did from News Nation because you get into the monopoly money. So let's just put Joe, a little bit of self-promotion. We're going to put you on here again.
It's not just a local facial recognition. Their resources are available to the NYPD, not only on this case, but on many cases. So, eventually they're going to put out how they found this individual and his whereabouts. They may know it. They may know what direction he went to. So they're going to focus on that. They're going to focus on the evidence that he left behind with the backpack. Hopefully they do recover some more evidence, but everything is piece by piece with this. And we have to understand that you cannot rush these things. It's not like television where the movies where you hear these things. And, this is a high profile case. And what makes it high profile is not the fact that Mr. Thompson, worked for a big company. That does add to it. It's the fact that this was a brazen murder in not broad daylight, early morning hours. And this suspect, if, for lack of a better word, is over there leaving pieces behind, just like we heard that he left monopoly money in it. To me, he thinks this is a game and he's ahead in the game.
And can I ask you about the monopoly money? Because a lot of us are scratching our heads. Do you, with your experience, do you think he's taunting police and investigators? Do you think he purposely left that with some kind of message he was hoping to get across?
Absolutely. Like I just said, I believe he thinks this is a game and he's ahead in the game. You know, it could be, people say that maybe it's he wants money from this. You don't know. You don't know what the motive is until you get the suspect and you speak to him. And at that point, it's going to be limited, depending on how he presents himself to law enforcement. But, this is a game to him right now. And the parts of the game that he controls is that he's leaving the clues behind at his discretion through the park. He probably surveilled that park beforehand, knew his escape route. But the fact that you're showing that photo right now with his face, he's looking right into a camera.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest piece that helps us in this case, is that he's on the national spotlight right now. Somebody has to know this individual. Somebody is going to call up and say, I know who this guy is. I know where he stays. I know what state he's from. We still don't know where he's from. He could be from Minnesota. He could have followed Mr. Thompson from that area back to New York. We don't know, but you will put the pieces together. Right now, we have to base this case on the progression of it with the evidence and where that evidence takes us.
We've been talking about the evidence that's been left behind. We heard of some of the items the shooter left, things with his DNA on it. But sir, what happens if he's simply not in the system, despite having DNA?
Well, that's the whole thing. The DNA is still crucial, because when you do make the case, you make the case based on the DNA. You do get his DNA, whether it be through court order, whatever, and you tie that into the case. So it's not that they're trying to, of course, you would love for him to be in the system for that. But if he's not, you're just making the case progress by documenting everything from A to Z. This individual has left some, clues with the, writing on the rounds, live and spent rounds. And he's the one that's putting it out there. It's not that he did this by mistake. He's not a professional. He's calculated. And there's a big, there's a difference between the two. And he's leaving these clues because he's making himself a presence known across nationwide television.
Thanks for watching.
So there you go. That was a good piece, because you brought up some really good points. And, again, this has got to be, when they take this perpetrator into custody, they need to take it to court and get a successful prosecution. You're not going to get a successful prosecution if you're, jumping the gun and doing things erratically. Time is on our side, not on his. And they talk about closing in and making this guy's world smaller. And they do that methodically with these investigative steps that we do. Ed, you had some thoughts.
Yeah, couple things. So he may not be in CODIS, right? The Combined Offender DNA Index System, but he could, we could do the genealogy searches, okay, the familiar searches, to see if anybody in his family has put a profile in those services there, and then make the connection, just like Kohlberger, okay? And so they have the DNA from the bottle. They have other avenues of DNA, and people say, oh, it's going to take time. Trust me, they have the profiles. If there was genetic materials on the clothing, the backpack, the water bottle, the cartridge cases, they got it. It's already been run through the New York City Medical Examiner's DNA lab. They probably generated the profiles. They put it into the New York City database, the New York State database, and CODIS, and then now it's up to the NYPD to put it into the genealogy database and see if we can't find any matches that way. In addition, okay, the monopoly money, the writing of the various words from the book on insurance, and the monopoly money. I'd like the behavioral science people down at Quantico, should get involved here. One of our profilers, we used to have a profiler in the NYPD. We had one, or even Mike from Profiling Evil. Okay. Yeah, So, do a profile on this individual, because, right, this is a game to him. And think about what monopoly is, right? You're trying to bankrupt all the other competitors and come out the richest person in the game, right? And think about what the book that was written and the words that were taken from the title of the book and written in, apparently it was written in marker on the side of the cartridge cases. That's what I'm being told. Right now, this guy thinks he's, smarter than us, and that he did a lot of planning. There's no doubt he did a lot of planning. Okay. But we're going to catch him. And I didn't appreciate what the mayor did the other day at the PAL press conference that he had. He basically, he didn't give out a name, but he said, we know who it is. He shouldn't have said that. That
Right.
one you should have held close to the vest.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's play this here.
We don't want to release that now. If you do, you're basically giving a tip to the person we're seeking, and we do not want to give him an upper hand at all. Let him continue
You
to
just
believe
did.
behind the mask. We're going to just, if we revealed his face, we're going to reveal who he is, and we're going to bring him to justice.
Yeah, I mean, he was at some PAL conference on Saturday, and he said that, and like you said, Ed, you don't want to reveal his name, but you just did.
You just did. You didn't say his name, but you say you know who he is. So now you just tipped him off that we know who he is.
Joe, as
Exactly.
Lieutenant Commander, what your thoughts on that?
I agree with that 100%. That the mayor should really tone it down. I have my own thoughts about being a street cop and being the book smart cop. We all know that. But let me tell you something. Yeah, exactly is right. And he really should tone it down. He should know better than to say something like that, because not only do you do something like that, but you antagonize the person as well. And you don't want it. You want them to think, like we said, be smug about it. Be so calm, cool, and collective that he thinks he's got the edge and everything. We know how many people are working behind the scenes on this. We know how many people are out there doing what they have to do. But when you have somebody that's calculated like this, and as Ed said, he had time to plan this. He had so much time to plan this.
Right.
And if you look at the route, and people don't understand, that's why I had to explain it to them, that people think that this happens and, why couldn't the cops get him right away? They don't understand that it took them, less than 15 minutes to go through the park, do everything, get on the other side, get rid of everything, change up, do what he had to do. I don't know what the exact time frame was. But they think this is coming, and we should have covered the Port Authority as well. This is coming 3 days later, 4 days later, when they piece everything together. And everybody thinks it's real time and it's happening right then and there, which it's not. We know this. It's just the average person doesn't know it. And I'll tell you one thing that I've been carrying with me for 23 years since I've been with Fox. I've said it maybe 24 times in the cases I've done. I said, listen, this is on a need-to-know basis. And the public does not need to know. That's the bottom line. There are things you must keep, enough with the press has a right to know, enough that, the public has a right to know. No, the victim's family and the victims have a right. And that right supersedes anything that the public or the press wants.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that's our job to do. We have to do our job, and we have to solve cases. We don't want it to become a cold case. We don't want it to be a case that goes on for years. We want to solve it. And we just don't need the outside pressure for somebody like Mayor Adams, putting the screws to everybody, saying, well, we got this. And he's like a little kid in a candy store. Oh, I know who he is. I want to say who he is, but I can't say who he is. Enough, It's
Ron?
ridiculous.
Yeah, and Ed, go ahead. But I got a thought that I got to get out. But go ahead.
Well, get your thought out, because I want to share something.
Okay, so quickly, Lieutenant Commander Joe Cardinale, you're retired, and you're retired a while, right? But you look at something like this, a statement coming from the highest, the mayor, this guy who runs the city, right? You think about what the Chief Joe Kenny is thinking right now. And I mean, the guy, and he can't even go to him and say, hey, what did you do? Because if he does, that's his boss. But the thing of it is he's got his guys working hard in all these different areas. There is there's an unbelievable amount of resources that are working, doing intel all over the place. And then you throw out a monkey wrench like that. It's just got to be frustrating from a boss's point of view. And you were a lieutenant commander in several locations.
No, yeah, and I would get my butt reamed a few times when I would openly make the statement, what the hell is wrong with the chief? I would say something like that. Right. Because we didn't want it out there. And that's why I said to them, I personally would not put this stuff out there. And we knew better, because Vinny Pizzo taught us better, you had to get the wrath of Vinny Pizzo, and he was the best guy to ever work for, and you look at all the bosses that we had respect for going up the ranks. One of them you mentioned, Ron, about John Cutter. John and I work side by side, and I think John's Buddy Manane. I mean, these are all people that I respect. Yeah, I respect them so high. I mean, Buddy, may he rest in pieces, one of the most knowledgeable people I ever worked with, and he was, dogged on these things. He would go straight down the line, and you couldn't deviate from anything. And if Buddy said he was running with it, you let Buddy run with it. And I would never. And if Buddy said, "Boss, please don't put anything out there. Let me run with this," absolutely. And I never let the guys get tunnel vision either. I let them. Somebody wanted one thing, okay, you go with that. I want somebody to go this way, but never get tunnel vision.
Right.
All right. I want to share with this about facial recognition here. Let's see if I can do this correctly. Present.
I got faith in you, Ed. You're a pro.
All right. Let's see. Share screen.
Do not put a skirt on me, Ed.
No.
He would never do that. Ed's a straight shooter. We're not throwing any curveballs at you, LT.
I'm the only one that wears kilts on this show.
That's true. He has. He has and played the bagpipes. Let me just say something quickly before you put that on the screen. I want to say thank you to the live chatters. You guys are what makes this a great place. You're the heartbeat of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. So for those of you who are in the chat, hashtag in DutyRon and hashtag Ed, hashtag Joe, we're going to take your questions at the end of the show. We're going to take 15 minutes out to take your questions. So all of the highlighted super chats, we're going to go through them all and all of your questions. So hold them to the last 15 minutes of the show, and we're getting close to it. Ed, what do you got on here? I'm going to go full screen with it. Our voices, our audio will be heard. So I'm going to go full screen so everybody could see it.
So this is a course I helped develop with Louisiana State University for the Department of Homeland Security. And I go around the nation training people and the NYPD, predominantly NYPD, on how to detect imposters. And we talk about facial recognition software. Now, what you're looking at here should be two photographs of two individuals, and they're having their faces mapped by the software. And they're looking for these anthropological points known as nodals rather. And then they're measured so when this face reappears on some other photograph or in some other media, that it can then be measured and then an identification made. So this is using the software. But then, we also, we also train people how to take an ID card that they're handed, like a driver's license, and look at that photograph and compare that photograph to the person that's standing in front of them, and how we do that. And there's all kinds of biometrics. So you have the facial recognition software, you have retinal scans, okay, you have your fingerprints. Many people don't realize that your lips are just as unique as fingerprints, okay, your lip patterns. So we teach people, and we go over some case studies like this one here. This is the same person, and she's involved in all kinds of Social Security fraud and so forth. And then we teach them, okay, here's a passport. Here, you're looking at this. What do you look for? Those 80 nodal points? No, what we teach them to do is we identify the shape of the head, right? Then we identify geometric locations for the ears, the eyebrows, the lips, and so forth. And we tell them to use a triangle and then compare the photograph where things line up, so that you can look at the ears, the nose, the eye areas, the mouth and lips, the shape of the face and the jaw and so forth, and try to line things up. And you can see how we show there are all different shapes of eyes, okay? And then there's different shapes of ears. And again, ears too, just like lips and fingerprints, are unique as well and have unique features, the individuals. And as you can see, from these photographs, people like these people that put those gauges, like this photograph right here. I don't know if you see. Now that person made their ear very unique with the piercings and the gauges. Okay,
right.
So it's just.
Ed, a lot of people are talking, and I'm not to break up the continuity of what you're saying here, but a lot of people are saying, as it pertains to the perpetrator in this crime, that like his face looks different in the different photos. And I'm glad that you're talking about this, because this is a lot of our live chatters have questions about this, because in some of the photos, our perpetrator looks a little bit different. And then there's also in some spaces on Reddit, I saw people talking about that he possibly could have had some kind of facial mask on. And I know that's kind of a far reach, but I never dismiss anybody's thoughts or opinions, but there are different ways for people to make themselves appear different looking. Right. And,
listen, I had a professional diamond exchange robbery, gunpoint robbery, where the perps stayed in the hotel overnight and used wigs, fake facial hair, makeup, and we recovered all that from the hotel room because they altered their faces and appearances with Hollywood silicone masks.
Right.
Now, as I said, I found online these masks that are made out of synthetic materials. It has a 3D image of a face, like it could be a celebrity, imprinted on the front of it, and then you just slip this over your head and you put your hoodie up, and now you have that face of that individual, but the eyes won't blink, the lips won't move. Okay. But if you walk by a camera and you get caught on a camera, that's the face you're going to see of whoever's image was imprinted onto that mask.
Right.
And it's not silicone. It's just nylon.
It's nylon. It's amazing. It's amazing. I saw it today.
This is the technology that we have available, not just in this case, but in any cases that we work and we request that type of technology. I want to just engage with the chat for a minute. Hey, folks, I'm going to ask you, and I don't do this often. There's over 4,000 people watching this live stream right now. If you feel the NYPD is going to make an arrest on this case, just say yes in the chat. If you feel that they're not, and this is like an uphill battle, just put a no. I like to just see where we are and how the chat, I know it's going to go crazy with the chat, but just a yes if you feel that NYPD is going to get, and I'm going to put a yes immediately in the chat because I know we worked for these are the greatest detectives in the world, and I'm not just saying it to be cocky, it's the truth. And we know the hard work. And Joe, because you were a boss and you ran squads, how hard and the dedication that goes into not just this case, but all of the cases that the NYPD works. So a lot of yeses. I've yet to see a couple of no's, maybe a couple in there. But let's play this piece from our good friend. We saw him capture Rex Heuermann, Rodney Harrison, a gentleman, an unbelievable investigator, a great guy. He went and gave an interview. I want you guys to listen to this. Rodney Harrison, he gets the credit where credit's due. Captured Rex Heuermann just in July of 2023. And now we're going to hear what he has to say about this case.
To the manhunt for the suspected murderer of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Police have new evidence in the case. However, they still don't have the weapon. CBS's Chanel Call has the very latest. Chanel, good evening. Still so many questions in this one.
Yeah, that's right, Sharika. And despite police gathering over 200 images of the suspect and offering a substantial cash reward, authorities have not publicly identified the person they believe carried out this vicious and targeted attack. These new images, released by New York City police on Saturday, appear to show the masked gunman inside a taxi just 20 minutes after he murdered UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The only surveillance photos of the suspect's full face released by police were taken when he checked into a nearby hostel. Investigators say the gunman switched from a black ski mask to a blue surgical mask before taking that cab to an interstate bus terminal in Uptown Manhattan Wednesday morning. After the shooting, sources tell CBS News he may have boarded a bus bound for Atlanta.
It's going to make it a lot more difficult, being able to track him down.
For a second day, police sent divers into this lake in Central Park after finding what they believed to be the gunman's backpack nearby Friday, but not the murder weapon. The high-profile search has now expanded across state lines, with more than 80 police departments called in to assist. I'm wondering what the role is.
Did we just hear 80 police departments? Joe, Ed, did I hear that right?
Yes.
80 police departments.
My goodness.
Those departments, police departments across the country, will actually play in this investigation, especially given the fact that we don't know publicly the person's name who police are looking for.
Well, just because you don't know publicly who the person is, the investigators that are assisting may know, and they might have been told, hey, keep things close to your chest.
And investigators are still trying to determine where the gunman boarded that bus that brought him to New York City 10 days before the
Now, I like the way he handled that. And guys, let me know what your thoughts are, because he didn't outright say, we know. He just said, hey, we We don't know if they don't. And I like that approach that he took there, because he didn't definitively say, yes, we do know. And he's not an official with the NYPD. He's a retired, police executive from the NYPD, and he was the former police commissioner of Suffolk County. Joe, your thoughts on that?
Well, I applaud him for that, because he took a page right out of the book that we were all taught from. He's definitely from the old school. He did his job very well. I have the utmost respect for him, and he's handling himself very well, and he's in a good position right now to get the word out there for the way policing is really done. And you don't want to say too much. We've had too much of that already. I mean, our illustrious mayor did it, as we just spoke about, and we just don't need the hard work going by the wayside and jumping the gun. That's the last thing you want to do on this. I don't care how much time it takes, just get it done right. This way, you do it once, let it stick, and that's it. And we learned from prior experiences that that's the way it has to be done. So there's no need for them to know. Don't say a word about it.
Yeah. And Ed, you say all the time, when it comes to forensics and evidence collection, you got to get it right the first time, because you can't fix it if you screw it up.
Right. Crap in, crap out. There's no fixing in a laboratory mistakes made with evidence in the field. Okay. It just doesn't work that way.
100%. All right, we're 41 minutes into the show. And News Nation's Laura Engel took a complete walk, and it's 9 minutes long, but I fast forwarded a little bit of it. I want to just give our audience outside the country and some of the true crime enthusiasts that are not from the New York City area this. I don't know, Joe or Ed, did you see this? She took a walk with a camera crew, and she went from the actual shooting location and then did the actual walk. She didn't walk exactly in his steps, but she walked the path that we know that's on paper. And she walked that path right into Central Park. So I wanted to play that. But I also want to go to the chat real quick. How many of you guys feel in the live chat, and I love to do this with you guys, and you guys stepped up with the answer of whether you thought the NYPD is going to get this guy into custody. And I said it from the beginning, I know we'll have an arrest. I just don't know when it will be. None of us will know when that will happen, but it is forthcoming. I could tell you that, and I could say it with extreme conviction. I know the dedication and the hard work that gets done on these cases, and these guys, the men and women, are working night and day. And I believe the police, the mayor actually said that there are some men and women who are working this case that haven't even been home or barely been home, a couple of back and forth to take showers and come back. How many of you guys feel that those pictures, and yes or no, this is going to be, how many of you guys feel the pictures of this suspect, if they accurately depict the same person? Because I'm getting mixed signals on DutyRon.com. A lot of people are saying that it's these photos that they're putting out are of different people. So put a yes if you feel they're different people, put a no if you feel they are the same. I feel it's the same, but just from different angles. Joe, I'll go to you with your thoughts on the pictures.
I agree with you, Ron. You have to understand too, and I think Ed can attest to this better than anybody, that the videos are often so different because they're different cameras, different angles. Some are in color, some are in gray, shaded gray. It gives an appearance of two different colors that he's wearing. So it's very different with the night shots, with the day shots, and different cameras pick up different scenarios. But you look at that, that's the same person. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, that the partial face recognition is just as important as anything else, especially with the eyes. I think 100%. The eyes are going to be, that's going to be the big thing right there.
Yeah. Again, I talked about this numerous times. There's a thing called photogrammetry. Okay. And you can take that image and put it into the correct software, and you'll get the exact measurements of those eyes and the placement on the head and the relationship to earlobes and the ear, so forth and so on. And that makes it very easy to compare. Now, I will tell you too, you are 100% right with the cameras. Some have infrared imaging, some the grayscale is off, some of the photo colors are off. But if you're looking at the images and you do what I teach others to do by observation, and you put that triangle over the face, you see where things are lining up, you'll see that you'll get those matches.
Yeah. And look, there's so many people that are all over the place with this, and even some of our, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it. A lot of the true crime enthusiasts think it looks like a female. Cindy Holenbeck, our good friend from Pullman, Washington, she's in the chat, and she says, I look different in all of my photos. And 100%, there's different angles, different lighting, different cameras, and they are talking about the images that they're putting out to us. They probably have hundreds of images that they aren't putting out. So this is it's tough for the public because the investigators are giving out what they absolutely have to without, scathing into messing up the case, so to speak. Okay, I'm trying to speak in layman's terms for the chatters, but they're doing basically the bare minimum to put his picture and his face out there. They want it to be across the country because if somebody runs into him, look, we had the case with the murder that took place in Maryland with Rachel Morin, right? The perpetrator came in from out of the country, an illegal came in out of the country, committed the crime in Los Angeles, went straight across the United States after he did that home invasion over to Maryland, raped and murdered a mother of 5. And then where did he go? In the clear into the middle of our country. And how did he get collared? Because his face was all over the place and he was in a bar and he had a fight. He had an argument with somebody and somebody said, shit, I see, this is the guy. And they called 911 and a responding patrol cop came onto the scene and collared this guy. And that's how it happened. I want to show this clip with Laura Engel walking the actual crime scene. For those of you in the chat, if you want to see this, let us know by putting a 1 in the chat. If you don't want to see the crime scene walk, put a 2. I like to be interactive with our audience. And that's what this is about. Because without our audience, we got nothing. So we give thanks and praise to each and every one of you. And we thank you for being here. And thank you for being, respectful as it pertains to your opinion. Because your opinion counts and it matters. We don't dismiss anybody's opinion. But if you could do it respectfully, then you got a place to stay here. If you are a cheerleader for a murderer, this is probably not the right place for you to be because we are not cheerleaders as a community. My panel guests, Lieutenant Joe, Ed Wallace, myself, we risked our lives for 2 decades or more chasing and hunting down evil. We are not cheerleaders for murderers. I just want to be clear about that. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Whatever the case may be, we are here because we're good human beings and we care about justice. And that's what this is about. That's what this community is about. And if you like that, you got a place to come and hang out. If you don't, if you are a cheerleader for a murderer, then I would say just take the door, take it out, exit stage right. I don't think I got any more to say about that. Let's watch this. Laura Engel from News Nation did a great job with the walk of this crime scene.
Hotel. This is the hotel where Brian Thompson was staying the night before he was murdered. And he left these doors at approximately 6:43 a.m. All of this taking place right in front of the Ziegfeld Ballroom. This is a very famous theater where lots of fancy movie premieres happen. So as we walk towards the Hilton, you'll see that there is a driveway right here. This is part of a parking garage with the Hilton Hotel. And it's probably where you saw that woman who ran away from the shooting. It's probably where she got into safety right through this alleyway here. So this is where everything happened. So we see the gunman walk up right here, come up onto the sidewalk, and he shoots point blank right here in front of those doors. Brian Thompson, you see him walking towards 6th Avenue this way, and that's where he shot in the back. And right over here, Ashley, right over here is where everything happens. You see him stumble and he collapses right here underneath this light, right up against this wall. And that is where the gun jams, is where I'm standing right here. And he shoots him and then he walks away. And we're going to take a walk through the passageway across the street where he makes his exit. Right across the street is the Ziegfeld Ballroom. And this is where the gunman exits. He comes across the street. We're on 54th right now, and this is the passageway where the suspect was seen leaving the scene of the crime. Now, you've heard it described as an alley, but take a look at this. This is really more of a passageway. We see this in New York all the time, this big, wide open space where people have lunch and where you have seating. And this is where he goes. So let's come this way, because we're going to walk you all the way to the other side of the block, because what he did was he exited on 55th. So as we take a walk through here, we're going to show you how he got up and over this concrete walkway. There are cameras. I'm looking for cameras. All right, so now we're in the passageway between 54th and 55th. This is the passageway where investigators reportedly found some type of a phone. Whether or not it was a burner phone, we still don't know. But take a look at this. There are cameras everywhere through this passageway. So we're going to walk you down these steps. And
I'm glad she brought up these cameras, gentlemen, because in New York City, as Dr. Darren Porcher said, retired lieutenant from the housing division, he said, anybody who comes into New York City, there is no expectation of privacy when you're in the public. And this is a prime example. These cameras, we haven't seen any footage from these cameras that are in this promenade here, the walkway, as they call it. But our investigators have it, right, gentlemen?
That's correct. That's correct. Now, you remember how important the cameras were in the Connecticut case we covered, right? The Connecticut State Police were able to track the movement of the suspect's vehicle, him on a bicycle, all that stuff. Yes. Yep. They have far more video evidence here, and they're able to track from the time he got off his bus in Greyhound into the city 10 days before the incident, and all that movement leading up to this and all the movement after it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's play this.
Passageway. So we're going to walk you down these steps, and you can see it's a pretty clean exit as you get to 55th Street. So down the steps he goes, and reportedly turned right. And as we come around here, you'll see it's always well populated here in New York and Midtown. And there's a camera right there on that light pole. There are cameras everywhere throughout this city, especially in Midtown Manhattan. A deli over here. We walk down to 6th. This is the route we believe he took. And as we walk over to 6th Avenue, this is where we're going to find the Starbucks. This is where we're going to find the city bikes. And this is where we're going to find the route that he took to Central Park North. And as we walk across 55th, we come here and we see that there is an area where there are city bikes. So we don't know at this point. Investigators have not revealed if he had a city bike ready to go, if he had his own bike maybe propped up here that he...
Gentlemen, it didn't appear to me, and of course I was looking at video, and with camera lighting and so forth, it didn't look like one of those city bikes to me. I don't know. I mean, I can't say definitively, but the video, I watched quite a bit of it. It looked something like this in the background, like one of those other, like an e-bike that you would just maybe buy or whatever. Who knows? But we know the investigators know, that's for sure, what he used. But from looking at the video, it was hard to say, because you look at that e-bike with the camera lit up on it with the, lighting, professional lighting, they look white in color, but the one that he was riding on, it looked kind of dark to me. I don't know.
Yeah, especially when he came out of the park too.
Yeah, it looked dark. But again, lighting is everything. It could change the image of the person. It can change the image of the object, or the appearance. I mean, the appearance of the object, the appearance of the person, and so forth.
Took off, and right down there is 6th Avenue, and that's where we're going to find the Starbucks and the entrance into Central Park. So now we are coming up on the corner of 55th and 6th Avenue. This is the path that the gunman is believed to have taken to get up to Central Park. So as he came up 55th, as you see here, it is very populated. You can see the Hilton Hotel down here. Our cameraman is going to push in, and you can see the Christmas lights. You can see the Hilton signage and the hot dog stand on the corner. And this is where he took his path, according to investigators. So we're going to walk around the corner now, take you up 6th Avenue, because this leads directly to Central Park. This is the route that he may have taken. If he took 6th Avenue, this is where it happened. We are on the corner of 56th and 6th Avenue now. We want to show you the Starbucks. That is the only Starbucks that is open at 5 a.m. in this area. And it is the Starbucks where investigators believe this suspect went in and purchased something before he went over to the Hilton to complete his planned mission that we've all seen on surveillance video now. Let's go across the street and show you what it looks like, because we've got the green. So we're going to walk across now. We're going to show you what we believe to be more cameras in the area. Take a look here. I don't see any. You can see here, look at the store hours. This is the only Starbucks that is open this early in the morning. So it was a Wednesday, 5 a.m. And these are the doors that the alleged gunman walked through, ordered something, possibly discarded something. We've heard that investigators were looking through the trash, that they're looking for DNA that he may have left behind on some kind of a cup, maybe a candy wrapper. But it happened inside of here, just a few short blocks away from the scene of the crime. We are making our way towards Central Park. We have just left the Hilton, the Starbucks, the F train. Now we're going to take you up the path. This is 6th Avenue, and 2 blocks in back of me is the entrance of Central Park. And that is where investigators believe he biked into the park, and that's where they lost him. So now we're just about a half block away from Central Park. But I just want to point out another thing to you. Look at this. This is where the cameras are. The cameras are everywhere. They are outside of delis. They are
I just want
outside of coffee shops.
I want to stop it on a good shot of this camera. Okay. So I work in an Amazon affiliate as the director of security. So it's well known to everybody that's here on Crime Time with DutyRon. We have similar cameras to this, and now I can't identify this as a hike vision camera, but we have the cameras with the two. One's the camera, the other one's for the nighttime vision, the infrared beam or whatever. But this is a decent camera. If he walked past this camera with this lighting on the outside of this location, this is just one place at 1428 that they would have phenomenal video. I mean, this is a detective investigator's best case scenario when you look at something like this. And there was probably dozens along the way that she may have missed in this thing. But this is just a half a block from the entrance to Central Park. So this is great. This is great to see this. This is great for our audience to see it, because it goes to show you just how much video information that they have to go through, and they're probably still going through it. You know, looking like the police commissioner said, Commissioner Tisch said, they're not just going through it with AI. They're looking at it frame by frame, minute by minute, second by second, and it takes time.
Shops. They are on light poles. They are places that you don't even know. This city is covered with cameras. We're going to walk you up to the park because this is the route that investigators believe the gunman took. Biking up 6th Avenue. This is the entrance to Central Park. Here we go. All right. So here we go. We are on 6th Avenue, Central Park South, going into Central Park right now. And as you can see, 6 p.m., 6 a.m. doesn't matter. It's always busy here. There's always taxis, there's always buses, and there's always people. So as we walk over here past Central Park South, take a look at this. This is an iconic scene that you see every single day. You see bikers with city bikes. You see the horse carriages. You see the hot dog stands. You see people that are milling around. And that's the thing. They are looking for anybody who might have a tip. I just talked to the NYPD. They told me that the smallest grain of information that anybody may have, they may have seen something, they may have noticed something, they may have thought it was insignificant, but they want every single person to call in that tip. They want to know what was seen that morning. If there's anything at all that you can provide, they want to hear from you, because you might just have the clue that solves this case.
And Laura is.
So I thought that was a great piece, and I thought it was important to give people that do not live within the confines of the New York City 5 boroughs or have never been into Manhattan. That gives you a good insight into the lay of the land. So pretty good work there by News Nation. Ed, I wanted to go to you quickly about the backpack. There was the bomb squad in Central Park on Saturday, and I believe Friday as well. They were there for a couple of days. We know Scuba was there, and we had our good friend, Lieutenant Commander from the Scuba unit, to cover Kylie Rodney with us, right? I don't remember his name, but it was one of your friends. He came on. He did a great job talking with us about what the elite NYPD Scuba team does. Scuba's in the park for 3 days now. But NYPD's bomb squad, when they found that backpack, used the device, and I don't want to misquote the device name. That's why I have the expert, my partner in crime, Ed Wallace. They used a special device so a person didn't actually manually put their hands on it, even gloved up, even in a Tyvek suit. They used a machine to pick up this backpack. Ed, you want to talk about that and why they did it?
Okay, well, you know, on our last show in the chat, there was somebody saying, yeah, they picked up the backpack and they just rushed it without opening it up to the laboratory. And I'm like, there's no way in hell they did that. All right, because there could be an IED there, an improvised explosive device inside that bag. You don't know what's in that bag. And I know our bomb squad, they live for this. So that's their job. So they came out there and they found it in a search of the park. And then they isolated. They used the RAIN principle: recognize, avoid, isolate, and notify. Notified the bomb squad because those are the people, experts that are trained to deal with that. And they got there and they set up and they went downrange with one of our robots. Okay. So we have several EOD robots, explosive ordnance detection, disposal rather, robots. And so we have several different types. One of them is an Andros, and that was one that's belt driven, and they have tread, like a tank, and they can climb and do all kinds of things. They can be armed with all kinds of meters and monitors for chemical and biological, radiological detection. They can be armed with shotguns. They can be armed with pan disruptors to disrupt it, and they can also assist in moving things safely so a human doesn't have to go downrange and potentially become a victim of this improvised explosive device. So they manipulated the bag with the device, and then they brought down a digital X-ray machine, and it's battery powered, like the batteries for a power tool. And they X-rayed the bag to see what was inside the bag before anybody tried to make any type of hand entry into the bag. And again, this is where they found clothing, jacket, and the Monopoly money inside of the bag. And then once that bag was deemed safe, okay, then that bag could be properly photographed, documented, collected, packaged, and transported to the laboratory where the lab analysts are going to analyze it for hairs and fibers, DNA, fingerprints, if possible, and gunshot residue, things of that nature.
Absolutely. And safety comes first for our NYPD detectives, and nobody's going to go and just pick up a bag and look in it. Now, we did see that paper bag. I believe it was from Kohl's, the department store, and they were looking at that. There was a separate.
Yeah, I think it was TJ Maxx.
Oh, TJ Maxx. Yeah. Thank you. My wife was just at Kohl's today. So yeah, TJ Maxx bag, and that looked like it had clothing in it as well. I'm sure that they handled that in a similar fashion.
Right, and it may not have anything to do with this case at all, or it may. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was also at the scene early on Wednesday, on the day of this horrific murder, the news was photographing for 7 hours there. They were out there. We saw them at both angles, and there was one instance where they zoomed in on a bottle of pills on the floor. This too was probably an elaborate part of what he meant to do. Just spill out these pills, talking about pharmaceuticals and denials of health of procedures, and getting PET scans and so forth, MRIs. We don't know. That's one theory. It could have just fell out, or it could have been somebody else. There's millions of people in the city. There's lots of people walking around, even at 6 a.m. Somebody could have dropped that even beforehand. But, the NYPD, they don't leave any stone unturned. So they're going to check everything. I want to go to the chat for the questions, because we're getting ready to wrap it up. Hashtag Ed, hashtag Joe. And I want to thank Joe Cardinale, Lieutenant Commander, retired NYPD Lieutenant, for spending over almost an hour with us. I thank you. This was a spur of the moment. I just sent him a text message, and he was like, I'm going to be watching. And I was like, just in case you want to join, here's the link. And before you knew it, he was in the green room ready to go.
I enjoyed this better than anything I do on TV. Anytime I get with my brothers and sisters in blue, it's 10 times better than being on TV. Trust me.
Amen.
And there's no the time limit where you get cut off, and you really don't have to limit what you say. Like, we could say it as we feel. So, okay, here's a bunch of questions coming in. DutyRon, here, this is a good one, and this is Schmitty. Hashtag Ed, hashtag Joe, hashtag DutyRon. Do you think he had help? Ed, I'll go to you first.
I don't know. It seems like everything he's done thus far, he could have done all by himself. Okay. Yeah. It's not hard to follow this CEO. Like there's a lot of open source information on his company and his this conference that was being held at the Hilton. It's an annual event, so it's something that's known in the industry. So it wouldn't be that difficult to get that information and know that he's going to be attending there, because usually the conference also has their own website and they put out information about the conferences and who's speaking when. There's usually an itinerary with times, and so that you can go, to various speakers and listen to what they have to say. So
Ed, I agree with you on that, but this is what I've been saying for the past few days now, and it still troubles me. That's intimate knowledge to the point that he's going to be walking there. Somebody had to know that he sets this room up for the for whatever they're doing over there for the conference. He actually sets the room up himself. He would set it up. That's Mr. Thompson. All right, and you really have to know that he's going to be there. Now, the only reason why I do agree with you that he did a majority of this on his own. But somebody either had to tell him or he followed him there every single morning. But did he have the same itinerary every morning since he was there? Now, remember, I think he was only there since Monday. So he had to do it Tuesday. How did he know he was going to walk by that spot at that time? Because the witness, if the one black gentleman that was saying that when he heard the shots, he knew it was shots right away. That was only a suppressor. And he said he saw that guy hanging out there a few minutes before that. So he was like waiting for him to walk by that spot.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that troubles me with this.
And you know what, boss, that I watched that interview because I really did a lot of homework on early interviews, and they were actually interviewing him inside his SUV. He had the window rolled down and he showed his phone because he took a picture of the perp. And he said, and this was early on, and we know from interviewing people at crime scenes, at shooting scenes, you can get 15 different stories from people, and in different variations. But he actually said that he saw that guy there at 3 a.m. Now, could he have gone in and out of his hotel numerous times and then they only caught him on the cameras early in the morning? I don't know. But we do know that all of the witness statements and all of the video evidence will create the story and put those pieces of the puzzle together for our investigators. And that's what takes a long time. But I think our former chief, Rob Boyce, said it really well. He said, what's most important is catching this perp. So all of these other things and tying the shoestrings, they are important, but catching this perp and making his world smaller and closing his world, cutting off his money sources where he can't go to a bank and can't draw out money. He has to get food. And as more time, the time is on our side. It's not on his. Time is on the investigator's side. And as his world gets closed in and that more narrow, he's going to make those mistakes. He's going to get tired. But, there's so many things that are happening that are moving behind the scenes that we don't have access to the case file. None of us do. But we do know, because of our experience, how these things develop. And things can change. As you walk down one hallway, another door opens up. So this investigation is fluid and ongoing and could change minute to minute. And that's why I say we can have an arrest overnight. We can have an arrest tomorrow morning. We don't know. We would just be a magic ball for us to make that to make that guess and determination. All right, so let's look at the chat real quick. Somebody said to catch a killer. This is easy, the boxing cat. ATS News, always good to see you. I'm going to highlight a couple of the chats. I'm just going to scroll through them. Katina, thank you for being here. So it's great to see you. Per the NYPD timeline, he had a 10-minute window because he came from, and the message got cut off. Yeah, I mean, look, we're all following this just like you guys are. We're following it minute to minute. We're looking for updates. I know, Joe, you probably have friends who still, are inside and on the job. You probably get information or, little bits here and there, tidbits there. Ed knows everybody. Ed knows everybody. And like when I said to him, hey, could you get me the official name of the apparatus that picked up the package? He goes, I got a guy in Bomb Squad. I'll call my guy. So,
that's good. And Ed can do that and we can all do that. But I'll tell you right now, on an investigation like this,
Nobody's giving anything up.
and I don't call. And I'll tell you, I would never want to put anybody in a jackpot. So anybody says, "Oh, my source is this and that," you're going to get some of the big mouths that like to hear themselves speak, and they're going to get out there. They're going to say something. But anybody that's really close to this investigation knows how important it is. They're going to keep it quiet, and they should keep it quiet, because the last thing I ever want to do is go out there and say, "Oh, I heard from this one," or I would never do that.
Yeah, no,
All I can tell them is be patient and let this thing play out. And they should just leave it alone, because they're so used to TV ruining us. TV ruins us, silences with that. And then they expect all these things to be the same way, and how they get evidence, processed overnight. No, we got a hit on this, and we got this. You don't understand. It takes weeks sometimes. It takes longer than that to go through the whole thing. Ed knows that.
Yeah, I would never call a guy for that kind of information. I was just trying to find out the name of the robot, which one they used.
Yeah,
that information's good. Then we always have the go-to guys for that. But what I'm saying is,
nobody's giving
it. Yeah. We know not to put anybody in a jackpot like that.
Exactly.
Because that's it. Yeah.
It's not worth their job.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not worth blowing an investigation like this.
Exactly.
I wasn't implying that we could get insider information, but
no, I didn't think you were. People think that, though.
Right. Yeah, that's a problem. But when we want to get little intricate things that are put out in the media for clarification, like I watched a talking head who I'm actually friends with say on one of the outlets, I won't even mention it, that if somebody throws a gun in the water, the fingerprints are going to be erased. And I just said, oh, no. And like Ed always says, we did a complete show on forensics. We have a couple of forensic Fridays that we do, Joe. And Ed holds class here, so on Friday nights sometimes. But when I told Ed that, he exactly what he did, he was just like, oh.
Where did they get this stuff from? And
I don't know. I
tell you, the brain surgeons. That's what they are.
It blows my mind. I want to say thank you to KNS for buying Ed and I 10 cups of coffee on the Buy Me a Cups of Coffee app. It just came through. KNS, thank you for being so generous. Schmitty, who I got to meet in person, she came to New York City, and I took her to Umberto's in New Hyde Park, and I got her some good Sicilian pizza. Schmitty's a member for 37 months. She says, I'm here 3 years and I still feel new. Thank you to DutyRon and Ed for the education. Well, thank you. Grain, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Kay, thank you for being becoming a new member. Rhino Girl sends us $50 in what funds is that, Ed? I know you know all about the world. So AED. That's from I think United Emirates. I could be wrong. Rhino Girl, I think, she might be even from South Africa, I think. Why did he do so much planning on certain aspects of this despicable act, but he was sloppy on other aspects? Can it be arrogance or ignorance? That's a freaking great question.
It is a great question. It's probably both.
Combination of both, Joe?
Yeah, he's a narcissist. This guy is definitely a narcissist, so you can bank that one. He's and when he does get caught, the reason why I did say that, depending on how he presents himself to the detectives, that's going to be something else. So either he's going to clam up or he's going to want to spew everything and get his moment in the sun that way. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, you nailed it though, Ron. It's UAE.
Yeah, I thought so, because Rhino Girl's been here for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. So thank you for your support, and thank you for that great question, Rhino Girl. I also want to add, boss and Ed, that I feel strongly there's a mental health component as well, because this guy, we're going to come to find out, and look, I'm not going to bet my pension on it, but I would say that there is a very strong possibility, that the probability is very high, that this guy has a screw loose. And he's not. We're not dealing with a full deck of cards here. So that's my thoughts. I'm going to stick to that, and I do it respectfully. Thank you for being a member, Princess Mitch, for so long. Schmitty's throwing her purse as she always does at us. Another 5. She says, given the vitriol and disgusting comments against the victim, what are the chances of copycats? That's a great question, and that is a big problem, because this definitely incites people that are on the fence. And this is a big problem in law enforcement and in our country, is that when you see this vitriol and you see these people jumping on the pile, and that's why, I'm sorry guys, but that's why I had to make that statement here, is because we do not stand for that. And we're not anybody who would jump on and try to attack victims and their families. Look, the Thompson family, both homes, they live separately. Our victim and his wife live separately. They called in swatting calls to their house 2 or 3 times. They sent the police there and the bomb squad in Minneapolis and Minnesota to the homes. This is how far these people are going. And, you know, I don't want to be a part of that. I would never cheerlead that on. That leads to more stress. We always say we send in, you know, strength and prayers to the victims and their families. And that's what I preach here. And I say it at the end of every show. And that is a very good, Schmitty, great comment, and something that needs to be addressed as well, because it does create this copycat and it creates this environment where it's not okay. 2 wrongs don't make a right. And gentlemen, if you guys want to expand on it, I'll let you have the floor.
It's a societal issue. It's sick. Okay. You know, we're at a point now where, you know, having a discussion in our society and where people disagree, and now you're just exchanging information, exchanging differences of opinion, and now your literal words are considered violence that can be met with physical violence, where you can physically be attacked because of your thoughts or the way you feel or your opinion on an issue. Okay, this is anarchy. This is not a civilized society. Okay, this stuff has to stop. This is ridiculous.
100%, Ed. Joe?
Did you see? I don't know whether anybody saw that. I think it was by Grand Army Plaza where they were all doing the lookalikes for the perp.
Disgusting.
I mean, how ridiculous can you get with these things? I mean, you have nothing better to do with your time, just like our gems that protest up at the universities and everything. Supposed to be learning, and they have nothing better to do with their time to go out there and make life miserable for everybody else. So it's a little ridiculous that they're going to sit there and do a lookalike contest in the middle of a murder investigation. This is, like you said, Ron, this is somebody's family. This is somebody's father, somebody's husband, somebody's son, somebody's brother. All right. Yeah. It's ridiculous that you would turn around and do something like that.
Here's the one and true test, the shoe on the other foot test. Okay. If it was your family that this happened to, and now people are happy that your loved one was murdered, how would you feel?
Yeah.
Okay. How would you feel? And, I got into a discussion with somebody in the chat, making a comment that they've never seen a CEO arrested and convicted of criminal charges for something that caused someone to die. And that's not true. Okay. I just give you one example of Peanut Corporation of America, PCA, Peanut Corporation of America. The president and owner of the company, and this is a big company. Okay. He knowingly had peanut butter that was produced by his company sold after knowing that millions of these bottles of peanut butter were contaminated with salmonella. Some 44,000 people became sick and like 9 people died. All right. And a whistleblower blew that case wide open, and he ended up 27 years he got. Okay. So no, there are cases, you seek your justice through the criminal justice system, not by vigilantism, and not the ends do not justify the means. Now, so if this person that may have been killed, the CEO here, had some beef with the insurance company, okay, maybe a loved one of his passed away, okay, because maybe they were denied some coverage, okay, whatever the case may be. But now, how does doing what you did, how does that benefit you? Because you're going to get caught, you're going to do time. So now your family just lost another member.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of a despicable act. Right. Like I said, 2 wrongs don't make a right. If there's something that you have a problem with, like I can use an example, and this is a minor example. When I had my full rotator cuff tear in March of this year, I went to my orthopedic surgeon and he said, okay, I think you got a full tear from what I've seen, but I need to get an MRI to do surgery on you. And I said, okay, I have, I'm not going to give away it's not United Healthcare, but I have another healthcare company. And he said that it could take 2 weeks to a month to get the authorization. I'm in agonizing pain. So what did I do? I went to a stand-up MRI and I paid out of pocket to get the MRI, and I brought it to my surgeon the next day. And in 5 days, I was I was having surgery, covered by my insurance, but I would have had to wait up to a month, and I was in so much pain. I was pissed. I was mad about it, but I'm not going to go and hunt down the CEO and try to kill him. So that's the thing, is you have to draw the line. There's many injustices and many things that happen, and there'll always be a time for that conversation. But this guy's not even buried and put, had a funeral for his family. This is still an open case. There'll be a time to have a conversation about wrongdoings or whatever you want to have, but this is not the time. This is not the time.
People get pissed off with the amount of salaries that these CEOs get. And, there was a conversation, and I'm not going to say who the conversation was with, but there was a conversation about these golden parachutes that they get. And one person turned around and said, well, that's what bullets are for. They don't, golden parachutes aren't immune to bullets. And I said, well, that's a ridiculous statement to make. He goes, that's how frustrated people get. And I'm not talking about the healthcare industry alone. You're talking about people that are just getting the big bucks like that. And enough of that. It's ridiculous already. What a person makes, what they do, what you do with your life, it doesn't make a difference in the larger scheme of things. You're not going to accomplish anything by doing what this guy did.
Right.
Hey, boss, I got banged up pretty bad from working at 9/11. Ron as well. Cancer, lost organs, incurable diseases. I've been denied 3/4 pension twice by the medical board.
That's ridiculous.
Okay. Should I go and then, now I know why when you go there, like there's a sergeant saying, did you got your gun with you? And I said, yeah. I said, okay, you have to lock it up over here. I said, why do I got to lock my gun up? He goes, because we don't want you shooting the medical board.
Yeah. And you know what? And it's ridiculous because I've seen people get, we all have. We've seen people get 3/4. To me, there's no rhyme or reason for that. I'm one of the only idiots that fought to stay on the job, and they put me out, and they're like, are you out of your mind? I said, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave. And the doctor said, you have to go. It's your 4th knee surgery. I said, Doc, I'll outrun you. I'll outwork you. I said, he goes, that may be true, but this is my call. I said, your call on my life. So, there's a lot of different things. I don't understand this, why you're even fighting that, why they're even making you fight this. I don't get it. I don't get it. You were down there. You did what you had to do. It should be a no-brainer for them,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm not bitter at the job.
No,
I know that. Because we have seen the worst of the worst, and we appreciate what we have in life right now. So that's the bottom line.
Right.
Absolutely. Honey Bun Fun, thank you for the 20. She said, I'll be praying extra hard for you tomorrow, DutyRon. I hope your treatment goes well and is not too uncomfortable. Yeah, so I got diagnosed with cancer just in October of this year, so just a couple of months ago. Follicular lymphoma, blood cancer from World Trade Center exposure. I didn't retire with a 3/4 pension, but again, I inquired about it, and they were like, oh, nowadays, unless you're, there's like a whole thing to it. And it frustrated me, and I just left it alone. But now I'm really concerned about the treatment. So tomorrow I'll be going for radiation treatment at Sloan Kettering. And it's covered under our federal health program, the World Trade Center. But, again, like I said, we're making these examples. Of course, they're not of us dying or a family member dying. But if you want to have a conversation and we open this thing up at one time or another and have a dedicated live stream to it, I could talk about my father who died a horrible death from bile duct cancer. And we had to fight the insurance company to cover all of his treatments. It was a fight along the whole way. But again, my father died in 2 months. He went from a healthy man to dead. And all along those 2 months, I had to fight his insurance. As his son, I fought with the insurance. My father died, and I'm not going out and trying to kill anybody. That's not how things get settled. If you want to try to correct an injustice or a thing that's not working correctly, there's peaceful ways to go about it. And when people are encouraging and inciting or jumping on the bandwagon to say that this is okay, that's not a good thing. And again, I'm not for you and you're not for me if that's what you're about. And again, I look at these chats and I look over them with a fine-tooth comb. If you make those kind of comments and you stand by it, just exit stage left. And I'll say it. That's the second time I'm saying it tonight. Cindy, thank you for the super chat, super sticker. I want to wrap this up by saying, hey, the NYPD is working hard as we speak right now with 80 different agencies. But we know that the FBI, we know that the U.S. Marshals are working with them, because once you commit a felony and you cross state lines, U.S. Marshals have to be there. Joe, you know this. I worked in fugitive.
Yep.
We went across state lines to bring a felon back to New York that committed a crime here. We needed the U.S. Marshals to be with us. They were embedded in fugitive. I know for a fact they are working on this case with them, and they are the best. They're one of the best at hunting down fugitives. That's what they do. That's what they live for, hunting down these heinous murderers. So fugitive, the FBI, the NYPD, probably state police has lent some assets to the NYPD if asked for, and up to 80 different agencies. That means police departments from other other states. So that's what we got going on. Joe, I'll go to you for final, and then we'll go to Ed, because we always got something to say at the end of these things.
No, the final is you guys. I love that you do this. It's something that we all try to do. We on Friday mornings we do it in the bagel shop out here. A bunch of guys that are retired. You probably know half of them, and we sit there and we laugh about things. We speak about things, and it's important that you guys bring this to the forefront and people understand, the nuts and bolts of what you do, not only as a detective, but as a cop, and the different aspects of our job. It's so important. And I commend you guys for doing this. It's keeping the beat alive, and keep it up, guys. Keep it up. And I'd love to chat with you again. I'm going to go on tomorrow, do a couple more shows tomorrow. I'm going to try to mention you guys because it's important. It's very important. And like I said, I like this better than going on any show I've ever been on.
And Joe, we appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Ed. I know you're saying thank you, but I want to get your thoughts as it pertains to the murder of Brian Thompson. What's your thoughts on what we're going to see next and how this is going to unfold, Joe?
Well, since they're pushing it, I think, as we stated before, I think he's identified. I think to a degree. That's why I say the tip lines have to stay open. They're going to get some more information. I think they just want to wrap everything off. They don't want to give their hand away as to where he may be, all right, because they might be on this trail right now, and they want him to get comfortable. That's the big thing. Let him get comfortable and get him when the time is right, and get him with everything that they need to get him with. I would just want to see the tie-in to the victim. I really want to see the victimology on this. I really do. That's like key for me right now.
Amen. Yes, 100%. Hey,
Ed,
folks. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your time with us. You can get your true crime fix anywhere on the internet you like, but we're proud to have you as members and subscribers. And I just love the camaraderie we have within our agency and the various units, Lieutenant and Ron and I, and all the other experts I have in my Rolodex that I bring out when need be for various topics. I'm happy to be here to help educate on this stuff, but I want to thank you again, and I want you to be safe, be prepared, and watch your six at all times.
Amen, brother. And hey, I always like to say this at the end of these live streams. It's about the victims and their families. So we send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to not only the investigators and everybody that's on this case to bring justice for the Thompson family, but we send his family strength, prayers, and positive vibes. They're going through it right now. Again, like I said, there'll be always a time and place to have other conversations, but now is not that time. Let's bring justice. Let's bring this perpetrator, get him off the streets, because he is a danger to society, no matter how you slice it. Yes, he allowed that woman to walk past him and go because he was focused on what he was going to do. But somebody like this is unhinged and is a danger in society. So I want to thank you all for being here. And on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace and our special guest, Lieutenant Commander retired Joe Cardinale, we want to wish you guys all a good night. And thank you all for joining. Thank you for the replay viewers, the moderators, the super chatters, and everyone who joined and became subscribers here tonight. Good night. God bless, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for
Take
joining.
care, guys.